Hey, welcome everybody. I'm Dan Bro, along with my co-host Matt Bruner, and welcome to the Real Estate Heroes podcast, the stories and lessons from real estate wholesalers, investors, and professionals who are changing lives and making an impact so that we can help you become a real estate hero. And just a quick reminder that this recording is an exclusive live event for our students only. And they have the opportunity to ask questions and get answers to their biggest questions live. So if you want to be one of those lucky few, head over to actiondanbro.com and schedule a call or sign up. I would like to welcome our guest, Nicholas Nick, today. He is the owner and founder of Lead Mining Pros. He is helping real estate investors get automated leads. He's crushing it over there, and we're going to talk to him about his story, what he's doing now, and hopefully get him to reveal some of his secrets. So, Nicholas, super grateful to have you on.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me here. I'm pumped.
Awesome. So, would you just fill us in a little bit on, what are you doing now?
Yeah, so basically, I founded Lead Mining about 4 years ago. And, what we do now is I almost call ourselves like a full service marketing agency for real estate professionals. Whether you're a realtor, an investor, it's best if you're both. But whether you're one or the other, we can definitely help you. And so what we offer is we offer lists. We offer skip tracing for only 7 cents, and it is incredibly accurate. We offer cold calling, Americans and Filipinos. And then we also offer all-inclusive, or what I call managed text messaging.
Oh, wow. So you guys are still doing texting. I know there's been a lot of heat around that lately with all these changes in regulations and everything. So I'm curious what sort of changes you guys have seen.
Only price increases is all I've done. Now, I have not raised my prices, so anyone who's watching can know that I charge you the same amount, but my price went up 30%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that kind of sucked when I figured that out, but it's still a great service. And what we offer is all-inclusive texting, where we text blast the person for you, and then we actually reply to them for you as well. When they say the right things, we send you the lead. Now, as far as regulations goes, I'll be honest with you, Dan, I am pretty ignorant to a lot of things. So I don't really try to keep up with things that would scare me. I don't really try to keep up with things that, are looking bad. I know prices went up, and that was about it. I look at things as like an operational aspect, what is actually happening versus like what is like being reported. So, and a lot of people call me, and sometimes they get scared of a couple of things, but, I'm just here doing my thing. And, I'm kind of seeing the inner working. So not until I see a cog there, in my opinion, would I report one, if that makes sense. So everything's been great. Nothing's changed in my world other than the price, which again, kind of stinks, but that's okay.
Wow. So, I mean, how are these changes in regulations and the carriers and all the spam blocks and everything, I mean, how's that affecting results?
Honestly, and it might be our system, maybe it's our system. So this might be a nugget here, so we buy 10 phone numbers, and then we only do text blasts in chunks of 500 texts per day per person. So we're not out there abusing anything. We have a lot of different phone numbers that they're going out of. So maybe I could say I accidentally have a system that is flying under the radar and is immune to any current consequences because my volume is so small, potentially.
Huh? Well, that's nice. I know there's a lot of people that are concerned about that. They were having success with texting, and then all the changes started to die down, or like a lot of people started doing it, got saturated. So,
well, and I think something I might be able to speak to would be something like a lead Sherpa, or something like a batch leads, or whatever those companies are called. And the reason why they're different, right? So like they're going to be the first to be attacked because they are the plug. So like when these companies come out, I mean, everyone who's like having a crisis under Lead Sherpa, of course you are, that's what they're doing. So maybe that gives us an opportunity as like one of these like little guys who's just using this back alley channel, if you will. For example, Lead Sherpa, they have to go to these companies and broker huge $1 million texting deals, right? And so now when they want to close a plug, I think the first place they go to is Lead Sherpa. Like, I know for a while they couldn't text AT&T leads. I still don't even know if they can. And we picked up a lot of customers whenever that started happening. They started calling me, like crazy. And I think through what you're saying, I might be seeing like some of the benefits to use us that I didn't even realize.
Interesting. Very cool.
Yeah. That makes
I
sense.
think that's awesome. Like, I like how you said you accidentally fell into a better system. I think that's cool.
Yeah. Well,
no, that's cool. So like, how did you get started with Lead Mining Pros?
Lead mining was really, I got so lucky. I was an executive at a real estate education company, and the number one thing they taught was direct mail. And these people would pay between $6,000 and $30,000, and the first thing they would be told to do would be to spend another $2,000 to $6,000. And that didn't sit right often, with a lot of people. So I was like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be better ways than getting these people to just spend money and send out mail. Like, because that's not a very skilled approach. It's an approach, it works, but it's not a very skilled one. And I like skill-based things because I want my skill to be better, which would improve my results. If it's not a skill-based approach, then you may not be able to improve your results. Maybe they just are what they are. Anyway, so our customers were hurting, for lack of a better phrase. They were taking on additional investments, and I didn't like that. So I created this cold calling system because making a phone call is free. And so I created this great system for my team. And then we taught it to all of our students. And it was just getting a list, getting the phone number, and cold calling it. Well, after teaching these at live events and changing everything, and people were seeing a lot of success, my career was coming to an end. I saw that, my relationship with my boss wasn't going in the right direction. I saw that, things were shifting. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? I need to change my life here. I've been pursuing this dream as an executive for some time. And I was like, you know what, Nick, you've been teaching this process. It works. Follow the process and you'll also make it work. Now I started cold calling. I called 300 to 600 people a day. Minimum. I crushed it. I set up daily quotas. I woke up every day. I was ready to go. I had a business partner at the time, so he would hop on Zoom with me every day. That accountability is crucial. And we would just go ham. And I would just call and call and call. We would make fun of each other. We would laugh. And I got a lot of leads. Now, after 3 months, only like 2 leads closed. 2 leads closed, but it wasn't like good enough. I was like, this kind of like, I didn't like strike my fancy. Closing wasn't my thing, generating leads was. So in the background, what had happened was I made a deal with this education company that while I made these calls, that I would go live in their community. So in their community, a couple people called me and they said, I'll use my mouse here. They said, hey, I see you're making cold calls for yourself. You want to make some for me? And I'm like, sure, $150. I'll make 500 calls a week for you. Another guy calls, hey, you make calls for me? I ended up picking up 2 of their students as my first customers. And things were going well. Then I made a post inside of a Facebook group I was like, wow, like something different's happening right now. Like I realized that after these 2 customers, they were happy. One of them closed the deal. Back then I asked for like 10% of the deal because I was doing all the work myself, plus the money. So that was going well. And before I knew it, I made a post one day in this Facebook page and 350 people commented and said they were interested. The next day I signed up 20 people for my cold calling service. And the next day I hired 3 people to do the fucking cold calls. And we've been in business ever since, and now 4 years later, we have over 340 positive reviews. I have 7 Americans and 5 Filipinos. And, we've been lucky to be, one of the top cold calling companies in the nation.
Yeah, I mean, I think I read somewhere, maybe you and I were talking, you've done something like 3 million cold calls at your company.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're probably definitely nearing maybe 4.5 at this point. We've been doing, I don't know the math, but 30 to 70,000 dials a week for 4 years, Yeah. So like we've got, firepower. We've got like and I think that's the main perk of hiring us. I think a lot of people don't understand, right? So like someone like Dan comes in and he hires us, he gets like the best cold callers in the nation, right? And so now someone named Susan hires us. But guess what? Susan gets actually the same cold callers Dan does. So I think one thing a lot of people don't realize about our service is like we really like equalize it. This is like the one product in the world where like the guy who makes millions of dollars on my service and the guy that makes $10,000 on my service gets the same quality of service.
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of on that line, like, what are some of the biggest mistakes you think other people are making with cold calling or texting?
I love these questions. So
I saw that smile, to be honest.
no, yeah, I like the biggest mistakes because I'll critique you. Damn it. I'll give you some critiques. Okay. Like my friends, like they're so funny when they need some feedback. They're like, Nick, I know you're the guy who loves giving feedback. But I think it's, cold calling is a mindset game. So, most people, they're not going to cold call. I did this literally. I didn't make a fucking dollar and I cold called for 3 months, 3 to 8 hours a day, and I told myself I loved it, and it was like the worst thing, but it's like, we have to talk good to ourselves. We have to like trick ourselves. We have to know like how to push through the bullshit, so I think put this thing on do not disturb. So I think that some of the biggest mistakes that they make is that they need to get out of their head, and they need to actually get the work done. A lot of people, they don't even begin to do it. And I get it. It's a lot. At Lead Mining, we bring like 6 different services together for like over 14 different employees. So people they have got their hands full. They have like different softwares to learn. They have different techniques to learn. They have like all this thing to do. And I think that might put them in overwhelm. So I think in most cases, the biggest mistake would be like they choose to outsource this and they choose the wrong people to outsource it through. Maybe they go to like, I talk to my competitors' customers all day long, and I can tell you that like in most competitors' cases, you're paying more than my services and you're still getting a foreign cold caller. At least with me, if you choose to pay a lot, it's going to be because you have an American, and so a lot of people, they end up like choosing the wrong customer. They end up starting off on the wrong foot. They end up, maybe making the bad move, and maybe they start feeling this is how cold calling is, or this is how text messaging is. They don't know how to, read the numbers essentially. So, I would say the first thing would be like mindset, and then the next biggest mistake would be, connecting the systems, creating them or outsourcing them. Very often they want to go right to outsource, which I completely understand. Well, guys, stay away from setup fees. Stay away. These companies, they can do this on purpose, $3,000 to sign up, and that's because they know after you give them $3,000, you're going to be like less likely to cancel because you already have so much invested in them, so like really pay attention to like these investments that you're making and these choices that you're doing. Because they might not get, like, one of our benefits is you can come and go as you please. Like I have packages as low as $60, so you can come in, try. I tell my customers to use us like professional split testers. If you want to create your own cold calling division, yeah, use me first. See if it's even worth it. Use me for 2 months now it's worth it. Now put 10 G's into hiring callers and softwares and systems and processes, you know? So that's where I think some of the biggest mistakes are, would be mindset, system creation, maybe hiring the wrong team would be, another mistake. And then, understanding that this is just another form of marketing. We have to split test it. We have to use numbers. I have some people, they spend $200 and they're like, I didn't close a deal. I'm like, yeah, I know you did. Like, and if you could, then I would be a lot richer. I'd be using my own service for one all the time, and my other clients would just be infinitely rich. Like I said, you might expect to spend $1,000 to make $10,000 to $30,000, but that's still a huge return on investment. Is what I have to sometimes, mindset people too.
Yeah. So I have a question. I know a lot of people that are listening, they might be thinking about cold calling and not sure really where to start. And, thinking, I know a lot of people do Filipino or maybe South American, or, some people do Egyptian. And then you have US too. So right. How do you make that determination?
I'll be honest with you, Americans just treat this like it's a career. We have a thing about being an American, and we do things at like a really high level, often. So I think the main difference is the Americans treat it like a career. Now I get it. That $3 Filipino, man, they are appealing. I get it, but you have to train, develop, systematize. You have to make that person amazing. And then one day, the truth is, they could you can clock into work one day and they're gone. You never hear from them again. You just made this person a monster, and now they're out of your life. They're going to leverage and be gone. So the Filipinos, when do I recommend sending a Filipino in? Which I think would be like another version of your question. When is a great time for Filipinos to show up in cold calling? I think the super saturated markets, Phoenix, for example. I know a guy in Phoenix who does over 200,000 dials a week into Phoenix. Okay. Crazy. It's the owner of Batch Skip Tracing. I'll throw him under the bus. But so 200,000 dials a week into the market. Okay. That is asinine, right? That market doesn't stand a chance. I looked at his contact rate. He had a 3% contact rate. They don't even care, right? Because when you're putting out 200,000 dials, you're just doing that. So think about super saturated markets. And so if that's what's happening, don't even spend the money on an American to get them to go out there, because you can have a well-trained Filipino that will still beat out their team, in my opinion. So my theory is, if there's that much saturation, and there's not a lot of markets that are like that, Phoenix is the worst. I'll be honest with you. I just would not cold call in Phoenix. I do not have good luck there. So anyone watching, watch out for your stats, or, make sure you have your ROI. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass, but when someone calls me up and they say they're in Phoenix, Arizona, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't just take it. But so that's when I recommend sending in the Filipino, when you already are going to get low results, when you're already kind of against the odds, that's when I think the Filipino is right.
Got it. Okay. And so let's say someone they hire a cold caller, that person's never done cold calling before, or maybe they've been in some other unrelated industry. How would you advise that they train them and then manage them?
Cold calling is the worst job on the planet, and so it's really hard for someone to wake up every day and do the worst thing that there is to do. So the first quality that I go for whenever hiring someone is eagerness, right? They have to be eager. They have to really want this. So when I hire someone, I put them through what I call a gauntlet of exercises. Hey, I want the job. Great. Take this typing test. Okay. And I never message them again. And then if they complete the typing test and tell me what their score was, great. Watch this hour-long video. We'll explain to you more about the position. Let me know when you're done. Then they watch hour-long video, they message me, we move on to the next step. If someone doesn't watch that video or reply to me that it's completed, like they're removed from the list of candidates. They are not vetted properly. They don't meet the eagerness required to do this. I can tell you the ones that complete the test immediately, message over, sign up, watch the video, done the same day, every time it's the best cold caller. Every time. So it's like the ones that are like, oh yeah, I'll get this done next week. Like, what? Like, if you're going to work for me, like, there's no like, what, So anyways, eagerness, number one, is, the number one thing that, I look for in a cold caller. Beyond that, we have a great script. You guys can get it from our website, which is, leadminingpros.com. It's very vague. It won't pigeonhole you into like realtor or investor. It's very universal, as I like to call it. We then train them on the script. I'm not a big fan. I'm glad you asked this question. I'm very passionate about this. I'm not a big fan of mock calls. Like, fuck your mock call. Okay, excuse me for saying the F word, but screw your mock call. It's like, it is programming you to like more crap. Like the live call is not a mock call, and you can practice and practice and practice and practice. One mock call is great. Get on the phone, make a dial. You're not gonna there's like a million people to call, so it's not like you're like gonna waste a lead here, and like your real learning comes like when you're nervous. What? Let me tell you, I should give you access to these. I have my first 22 days of cold calling ever in my life recorded. Okay. And I was fucking atrocious. And you know what? There's no mock call that was going to save my ass. There's nothing that's going to make you better. You have to do thousands of cold calls if you want to get better. So I'm not a big fan of like this mock call, so we don't do a lot of that. Throw them in there, get them some training. We actually have a list of people that aren't customer lists that we like train them on, just like random owner occupieds that like no one gives a shit about. Just call these people and just chat with them, and it's because they really have to get the muscle out. You can't just practice all the time and be good in the games. You have to have the pressure from the game, from the live, to actually muscle through. So we do a lot of hands-on training. Now we do use this great dialer called Call Tools, where we can actually whisper in. So if you're calling, they can't hear me, but you can, which, really works out. So now we're like giving feedback to them live. We're like in their ear. It's a real win-win. It allows for real optimal training. And I have my amazing manager, Sherry. She does all the training, and she's just so good with these people. So she makes sure they're aces. She then trains them for 5 days on, I broke the call down. Let's see if I can remember them. It's called like the intro, like who you are, or the greet. And that's, why you're calling, the intro, and that's who you are. Then we have the questions, and then we have what I call the handoff, which is now like has to go over to you. And we actually like grade them, like how they do in each part of the call. And we make sure that they have all aspects down, because they're all so important. And then we push them through, then we finalize them. We work with them for 5 days, we approve them, and now they are ready to be left alone and unleashed into the world.
Very cool. So let's say someone goes through that process. They train them for the 5 days. Now they're making calls, and they want to make sure they have that ongoing quality control going. So let's say you're listening in on a call. What are you listening for? How do you audit those calls?
Great questions. And I can appreciate them. Now, with the auditing, development is the number one thing, and it's like these people, like your cold callers will be like, I don't know why this keeps happening, and I'm like, you're like saying something wrong. That's why it's happening. Like, the thing is, don't forget, I started this by me doing all the cold calls. So like when it came time to people giving me excuses, I'm like, no, like I've overcame all of this, so like I always like remind them, it's so important the way that they say things, like we have a system, follow the system. Now I encourage people, once they've mastered that script that I have on my website, feel free to get creative. Once you have cold calling down and you've actually like mastered it, or at least like that aspect, now it's time to have fun. I'll be honest with you, I think that we can say things that just work for people, but we often may not think like outside of the box enough to say them. So I had a rule, and that was, when I was cold calling myself, I would try to say something different. Like every like 4 times, I would like say a different word or try something different, because I'm looking for what's going to like unlock the lead for, so, and that's why this script actually is so refined, because it's the amalgamation of everything I've done, essentially,
Amalgamation.
yeah.
I like that word.
Yeah,
Good use.
Thank you. I may have made that up. I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
My
Maybe,
brain has,
but I like it either way.
My brain has a way of using words correctly. It doesn't know. So I'm like Mike Tyson on steroids, which is still Mike Tyson. So it's kind of confusing. Oh my God, it's funny.
Oh, I love that. So you touched on this a little bit as far as like the scripts go, but I know you have a little bit of an integrator in you. So I wanted to ask, like, how do you guys, like, specifically when you're building a business, and then also how you're managing all this data and whatnot that you must have, like, how are you able to automate and systemize your business?
I hired this automation company that charges me $160 an hour. And lucky for me, automations need to be done once. Thank God for their freaking charges. But I couldn't pay if it had to pay more than once. But my recommendation is get it done right. I create systems where I create a flow chart, and then I create an SOP, and then I create a video of what I'm looking for. So that really helps me with automation. And normally I have one person do it. Like I have a lot of manual automation at Lead Mining, which is like a person that actually pulls the levers and like does the system themselves.
It's awesome. Yeah, like automation doesn't always mean like a system doing it, right? Like in my mind, like automation just means I'm not doing it. That's how I look at it.
No, I love that. That's exactly, what I do. It's like, I have a lot of manual. Now, you get lucky sometimes, and you can turn that automation into a system that does it for you. Now, that's best case scenario. And that's when you pay $160 an hour, and they do it in 5 hours. And then, you're good to go,
Yeah.
And so like, you can be lucky in that case sometimes.
And then you probably can't tell us that automation company, right?
Yeah, heck yeah. They're called getyouwired.com.
Nice.
They're awesome. If you want to pay 160, go knock yourself out. That's on you. Actually, I think you guys can tell them Nicholas Nick sent you from Lead Mining. So please get me free credits. Damn, they charge a lot of money. But you know what? They've never had to redo any work. And if anything's ever happened, I email them and it gets solved pretty quickly. It's pretty cool. They probably take about 2 weeks, maybe a month to get you on the books, in a sense, like they're busy. But once you have their attention, they crank it out.
Awesome. Or like, so where do you want to go with Lead Mining? Like, what is Lead Mining going to look like in 3 years?
I don't know. I think it really looks the same. I don't think I can add anything else. I think I can position better. RVMs. We're like, do you do RVM? I'll be honest with you, RVM's already automated. What the fuck am I gonna do? I'll fucking send a voicemail for you. It's gonna come back to you. Like, I don't care. There's nothing I can do in the middle of that. I think investors, they just want to do less work. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. The next thing I probably could do is I probably could create a comping structure, maybe a system for negotiating. I don't really want to do all that though. That's not my job. I like the idea of a comp that's like numbers, maybe that's like something we could do, provide free comps for our customers or something like that. That might be a vision, but I feel like the next thing we do is we just keep making the machine better. I started lead mining with only 3 services: list pulling, skip tracing, and American cold calling. It was a year and a half until I added Filipinos because we didn't even need them. And then we brought those on. What a no-brainer. I already have this whole system I'm paying for. Can't believe it even took me that long. But so I then brought on Filipinos, and then I added on texting. And then I added on all-inclusive packages. Now what I've done is I've created this one huge all-inclusive package for $6,300. So when you say where is lead mining going, I think this is where it's going. Just this week, I launched this $6,300 package. Instead of paying $6,300 for it, you can pay $1,300 to start and $500 a week for the next 10 weeks. And I think that is going to change the face of real estate. I can tell you that any customer that's ever bought in one of those huge packages buys it again, because you close one deal and you're doubling your ROI, period. So if you close one deal on a $6,300 package, you're probably at least going to make 12K. And I have had one guy, he's currently a 500 contract, just sold 2 for $56,000. Like, that guy's not gonna like, oh, hey, we're back. So I think like it's gonna change the face of how we operate, because when we sell these bigger packages that are way cheaper than even, so for example, like our competitors, one of them charges $1,500 down and $3,000 a month, and they're Filipinos. Now, my package I just mentioned is $1,300 down, and you get to keep a list of 10,000 records pulled and skipped that becomes yours. And we start cold calling, and we text message everybody, and we do all the stuff. And you get Americans, and it's less than the competitor's price. So, and there's no contracts, no commitments still. After the $1,300 down, you can cancel the $500 a week at any time if you want, but it does last for 10 more weeks. But so like that kind of freedom, I think, is going to end up being the future of lead mining. It's even going to be more turnkey. It's going to be more automated and even easier.
That's awesome. And then, so when somebody's in like a 10-week program like that, or, they do hire you long-term for cold calling specifically, like, are people hitting the same list over and over? Do you know how often people are recycling their data with that? Or what have you seen work best as far as like data management?
Yeah, so I think you beat a list to death, and then like you leave it alone for at least 3 months. Give it time, focus on another area. And what you're alluding to can be the one problem sometimes with something like 10-week Titan. There might not be more records that are ideal in an area, depending on how big your area is. If you're in a small area, you're going to reach that 10,000 records pulled and skip traced amount pretty quickly. So if you want to do it again, it may not be that easy. Now, some areas have like 380,000 of these records, so we can keep plugging away at. But the way I see healthy data management is we really let the numbers guide us, making sure that your KPIs are maintaining, and then you can maintain the course. If your KPIs start to drop, I recommend like, oh, we're not getting as many leads as we used to. Well, now let's run an ROI and see if it actually makes sense to keep pursuing this. Or, you don't want to keep, like I had one customer call me yesterday. They've been using their list and their skip tracing. Says, Nick, we used it for 2 months. We only got 2 leads. And I was like, well, tell me what's going on. Oh, well, we're using Filipinos in Texas. I said, okay, well, I don't recommend Filipinos in Texas. And I said, tell me about your skip tracing. Oh, we're only skip tracing using an address. We don't have a name. And I was like, I don't recommend skip tracing without a name. And then they said, something else. And I was like, and I also don't the list they were pursuing were too distressed for cold calling. Oh, these are divorced and, pre-foreclosures and, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I don't recommend those lists for cold calling. Oh God, I felt so bad. I was like, I'm so sorry that you guys waited 2 months to call me. My phone is right by my side this whole time. But so I said, here's what we're gonna do, and I gave them like 10% off as well to like, hey, I'll try to soften the blow. Now let's follow all these recommendations. Let's use Americans. Let's use let's go into the right areas. Let's use the right list, the absentee list that I always recommend, stuff like that. So yeah.
Awesome. So let's say we have someone, they're saying, all right, cold calling, I'm all in, let's do it. Top 3 things you would advise them to do when starting cold calling.
So, if you're starting cold calling, I think your outbound number, make sure it's local to the area. A lot of people make these little stupid mistakes. How come no one answered? Well, is the number local to the area? My customers, they have a lot of problems. When I tell them our contact rate's 10 to 15%, they're like, oh my God, it is? Well, if your contact rate's lower, you may just not be calling from a local area phone number, or your skip tracing sucks, but I can solve the skip tracing problem if anyone wants. But so, that's one, phone number local to the area. Number 2 is have a great script, and a great script says things in as few words as possible. They don't give a shit if you're an investor. They don't give a shit. Like I have one guy who's like, I want all these customers to know that we're going to handle their transactions fast and we're going to do it. Like no one gives a shit. Okay. Like that's what everyone says they're going to fucking do. Like, do you want to sell the property? Yes or no? We don't have to like throw up on these people. So I think a script is really good. And then the third thing would be, consistency, make sure, just like I tell my clients, I was saying the 10-week thing works. Make sure that you're doing it for a certain amount of time. Make sure you're making 1,000 to 5,000 cold calls. And, and I'm going to add a fourth one and say, innovate. Don't own the script so hard that like it's not working for you, but you're like, but it's the script. I got to keep working the script. Okay. No, like if you suck at saying something, change what there is to say, something more natural to you. Make sure it like flows in a way. I think innovating the script is like such an important part of cold calling.
Yeah, I totally agree with that last statement of changing certain words. Like, if I have a Filipino, certain like words, it just sounds awkward when they say it, or they feel uncomfortable saying it. And if they feel uncomfortable, it's going to come off awkwardly. And totally. So like little changes here and there, as long as you keep the essence of the script and you get the point across, you hit your main checkpoints, like doesn't so much matter exactly word for word how you get there.
Yeah. And that's what I tell my team, like, just get a lead. If you come up with your own way, do it. I'm the kind of guy who comes up with my own way in everything that I do. So I try not to like lock other people down in my way. Now I know my way works. So if you're struggling, default to my way. But if you're thriving, I'd love to see what you can create, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to change up. We talked a lot about cold calling. I want to jump back into texting just for a second. So
sure.
I know a lot of people, I see this all the time. A lot of people are making mistakes on how they use texting. How do you recommend people use texting?
Well, just like everything, right? I mean, I'm a big do unto others guy, So like what text would I reply to? How like wordy does it have to be? What does it have to look like? What does an actual conversation sound like? So we message people and we call ourselves Amy. We go, hi, I'm Amy. And I was following up with you about this property address. And I was wondering if you've ever considered selling before. So now we ask them about the property address and ask if they've ever wanted to sell in like less than 150 characters. Very simple. Yes, I have. We don't want to like invite interpretation here, right? Yes, I have. Okay, great. Do you have what's the condition of the property? This is the condition. What's the price? Boom. Now we get off of the phone. Let's stop texting right away. All right, cool. Well, I'm going to call you, blah, 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 bam. You know what I mean? Just get like their interest. Don't try to keep having the text conversation. Get 3 to 4 questions out, get your questions answered, then take it. Well, cool. When's a great time for me to call you? I'm going to reach out here shortly. And so we tell them they can expect to hear from somebody, in the next 24 hours. And I think that is the proper way to text, keeping it short, keeping it sweet, respecting their time. And, the more you say to them, the more chance they're going to have to ghost you. And that's not what you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a lot of our listeners and a handful of our students, they're still picking that lead generation strategy. They're still figuring out, how are they going to get leads? How many different methods do I use? What's right for me? What's right for my budget? If you were advising someone on just starting out, how would you guide them through that process?
Now, it really depends, right? So I love that you're asking this, because I've got like a whole thing about this. But, in short, it's about your time versus your money. Okay. A lot of people have a lot of time on their hands, and they can start cold calling. A lot of people have a lot of money on their hands, and they can start hiring cold callers. Right. So there can be a difference there. If you're new, I never recommend Facebook ads. I'll start there. Facebook ads is a slow burn strategy, and it could be, costly or exhausting or sidetracking, if you're just getting started. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't pay a company to do it in the beginning. I wouldn't do any of it. You want something that has immediate results. Now, what my next recommendation would be, if you're doing it yourself, my recommendation would be, what skills naturally resonate with you? Have you door knocked in a past life? Are you great on social media? Are you great over the phone? Are you good with technology? Like we almost do like a self-assessment and be like, great, well, you know what? I worked at a call center for 2 years, cold calling's my route. Or, hey, you know what? I was great with software, and I'm going to create an automation system that automatically texts all these leads as they come in. And so I recommend anchoring down, where you are. That's if you are going to do it yourself. Now, if you're going to outsource it, I'll be honest with you. If I was to outsource it, I would definitely do cold calling, at least first. Now, a company like mine, we offer cold calling and text messaging. So like I told you earlier, we're professional split testers. We're going to take a list of 2,000 people. We're going to call them 4,000 times, and we're going to text everybody. So we may find in your market that calling sucks and texting rocks. We might find that. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to find, and if we end up doing that, now you can drop this expensive cold calling and just do texting, so in some cases you can really like use the strategies. Now, my clients, I recommend that they cold call first as a priority. So this is if you're outsourcing it. I recommend cold calling first. I can't speak for other companies, but with mine, we're cheap. We have no contracts, no commitments. You could fire us tomorrow. It doesn't matter. We're very easy to work with. So I recommend cold calling. Now, if cold calling is showing some promising, I recommend adding on text messaging. Okay. I normally don't recommend texting as a standalone service. You'll find yourself wading through a lot of shitty leads because everyone's like tire kicking in the text messaging, right? Very common to get lesser quality leads while texting. So as a new investor, that can be discouraging. So I don't really recommend texting often first. It doesn't give them enough quality conversations. But it's a great sidecar. It's a great in addition to whenever you're cold calling. Now, once you're generating $10,000 to $40,000 a month using these two strategies, that could be one deal a month. $40,000 a month could be one deal a month, right? And so once you're doing that, then I would recommend adding on either Facebook ads or direct mail. Now, the reason why I said the or there is like Facebook ads is a slow burn. It's like a 3-month learning curve. Facebook learns who you want them to put your ads in front of. That takes time. They don't just get to download your ideal person to them. They actually have to figure it out. That takes like up to 3 months. So like your Facebook thing isn't like fully running until you're at the 3 to 6 month mark, essentially, and that could be pretty costly to get you there. And I feel like direct mail kind of has the same vibes, except probably a little higher success rate. Maybe you might close a deal here and there, but either way, I recommend, splitting up those funds, making sure you have disposable income whenever you're trying a new marketing campaign. Don't be like, this has to make me money or I can't pay my mortgage. Like, that's not a business. Okay. This is like above and beyond that, but have disposable income that you're ready to lose or learn, that you're ready to learn with. Okay. And then put that into Facebook ads or direct mail after focusing on the cold calling and the text messaging.
Yeah, I love the first part of what you were saying. Like we like to say, everything always comes down to time, money, or effort, right? Do you have time to put into it? Do you have money to put into it? Or can you put in a lot of effort? So I really liked what you said about that. We do want to transition into some student questions. So I'll kick that off. So we have Kevin live with us. Kevin's question was, what are the most important phone etiquettes that you want to teach your employees? So teach your callers.
So like phone etiquette, like, always have a smile on your face. It's like, always make sure your energy is like a little bit higher than theirs. And when they become a son of a bitch, and they will, to kind of, how's the way to word it? So what I recommend my team does is be like, I can tell you're having a bad day. You know what I mean? Like, hey, like I can tell it's not a good time. This is not a good time for you. Okay. Like I'm going to tell you, this is not a good time. You are going through something right now. Can I call you tomorrow? You know what I mean? So I train my team a little bit on, having that kind of etiquette. Like it kind of humanizes them. People have a bad habit of like just treating a cold caller poorly, and so to kind of like stand their ground a little bit, but still be upbeat. Don't get condescending. Don't yell back, but like still kind of stand up for yourself, And so one thing I tell my team is like, be the light in their day. Like you also want to be like really positive. Hey, I hope you have a great day. When I used to cold call myself, I can't even tell you guys how much I would just laugh after the end of a call. People are so fucking nice. People are so nice out there. And those people, like, they're a reflection of you. If there's a bunch of assholes while you're cold calling, I promise you're being an asshole. Okay. You're coming off as an asshole somehow. Okay. I'm not saying you're an asshole. That's not what I said. Okay. But if you think people are treating you a certain way, I would check yourself. Okay. Before checking them. If there's like a lot of people were so nice to me all the time, wishing me a great day, all this other stuff. So I used to hang up the phone and someone would be super happy and that would make me happy. And then I would say the cordial investor strikes again, and it's like every time I had like a really great conversation, I would just like have so much fun with it. Yeah, so I forget your question, but
Yeah, so we also have Brad here. He's asking, what software do you use to record phone conversations?
So we use Call Tools for everything, and they offer all the goodies in there. I think Call Tools is like $120 a month or something. I don't know if they do annual contracts, but really good software. The downside to Call Tools is it's like for me. It's not really for you. If you're an investor, just get Mojo Dialing. I'll be honest with you, like save yourself a headache. It's way more user friendly. Like this Call Tool shit like needs to be like programmed and like set up. And it's like, if you're new, don't put yourself in the weeds with Call Tools. And if you're seasoned and you're looking to take your cold calling team to the next level, check out Call Tools.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Right. So let's see. We also have Brad is asking, is there a certain time for a call? Right now, calls take me anywhere from about 25 minutes to get the person to say yes.
Interesting. I understand why the minutes, Brad, but I would focus more on your dials and your contacts. So for example, at lead mining, we average 2 to 6 leads per 500 dials, so it's important to know, how many dials are you averaging? So I would suggest, tracking your KPIs. Now, a time to call, I don't really believe in that, only because we want to get people on the phone. So there's no like crystal ball. So what we do at lead mining is we call at random times. That could be in the morning, anytime between like 9 a.m. to like 7:45 p.m. in your time zone is when we dial. And we try not to set schedules. Now, have we found that people might answer their phone more from 4:30 to 8:30? Maybe. I have no idea. You know what I mean? We have had a couple successful campaigns. Sometimes people ask us to jump through hoops and stuff, but I can tell you that the contact rate is what decides it. And the contact rate is constantly that 10 to 15%. Doesn't really matter when or what time you call. My answer to that question is generally, when's the best time to cold call? And the answer is whenever you feel like it. Cold calling sucks. So if you're in the mood, don't talk yourself out of it by saying it's not a good time to cold call, because you know what? It sucks. And if you're in a good mood, just ride the wave and make the calls.
Yep, absolutely agree with that one. All right. And so what can our listeners do to help support you?
So there's a couple of things. And, I don't know if you guys remember the coupon code, but I know that, you guys could definitely support me by, checking me out. I try to have a lot of fun on social. I'm not a business guy. I'm a fun guy, like a mushroom. But so I'm not, so like you might find me and learn something about that, but that's not like, I'm more like fun. But you guys find me on social, check out my website, see what services we have to offer. My phone number to my cell phone is directly on the website. So anyone watching this, go to my website, leadminingpros.com. That's with a plural at the end with an S, and call that number and I'll be right there to answer any of your questions. Now, a way that I know that I think I can support everyone is I created a coupon code for you guys. I wanted to give everyone 500 records pulled and skip traced. You guys can check out the site. I'll grab the coupon code here in a minute. But you guys can check out the site, go to leadminingpros.com. And if you go to my pricing page, you'll see a series of my products. I offer list pulling and skip tracing. And you can add that up to a $500 quantity, and I'll provide it for free. So any zip code, any criteria, we recommend absentees if you're looking for sellers. And we also can provide cash buyers if you're looking for buyers. So 500 free records pulled and skip traced. And that's because I want, everyone to see, how great our stuff is. I'm a firm believer in our greatness, and 500 records is a small donation, in my opinion, for you to see, where to put your next $100 when it comes time to put it somewhere. Our skip tracing is amazing. Even if you were to just use that, I promise it's one of the best out there. Our cold callers are great, and even the cold callers, I don't recommend you do that for a long term. Test your market, see if it works, close a couple deals. Maybe you make an in-house cold calling division, so I'm not even saying come and use me for the rest of your life, but I am saying use me wisely. Come in, make a small investment with me, see how it works with a team of 4 years experience before you decide to buckle down and rent out an office space and stick 20 heads in it to start cold calling,
Yeah, absolutely. So best way for people to reach you?
Yeah, really would be my cell phone, would be that number on the website. I challenge you, someone's probably going to call right now, but I promise if you call, I answer. I am that guy. So I'm super all over it. So, and you guys can reach me for anything. If you need feedback, you can talk to me about what the advice you need is. I really pride myself in providing amazing value before or after the deal. So if anyone wants me to analyze their current situation and tell them what to do or whatever they want, I don't mind showing up and providing value while you're making the decision of what to do next. So feel free to reach out in any way.
Very much. Thank you for that. And so if there was just one thing that you would hope that people would remember and take away from this conversation, what would that be?
That I'm a really fun person. No, but yeah, just that, cold calling and, lead generation, it isn't a game like for the week, it can be difficult. It takes a lot of experience. Like I have people that call me, they go, Nick, I don't know how you get such amazing results. I don't know how you've done this. I'm like, we're consistent. That's it. I have nothing else to say, So like really make sure that you're being consistent in your business. I have a couple of consulting clients myself, and I'll share with you guys my top secret consulting process. Okay. Create a process. Keep doing what is working. Stop doing what isn't working, and innovate the process. And if you repeat that over and over again, you're going to have the best process in the world, as long as you keep focusing on it. If it stopped working, well, stop doing it. Keep doing what is working, and so I really hope that, if they were to take away something, that is just, be consistent. Lead generation isn't easy, and that you have to give things a really great try. And you never know how it's going to show up. A little story I'll share is I had a customer use me. He spent $250. He didn't get one lead. 3 weeks later, a guy calls him back on the phone number he gave me for my cold calling campaign and says, I want to sell you my house. So if that guy made $13,000 on one of our campaigns, and he didn't even get one lead. So after that story, I want everyone to think about how many times they didn't answer their phone. How many times have we accidentally blown it? And so like to really make sure, we really got to be all over this shit. You're one phone call away from making $13,000 to $50,000. So make sure you're there when it calls.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that. Well, Nicholas, want to thank you for being here, sharing your stories and your tips and your lessons. I know we're all better for it. So super grateful for you. And thank everybody for listening. If you got value out of this, please like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends. And I want to make sure that you're able to grow from this. So please just pick one thing from today and take action on it right now. As soon as you're done listening, just do one thing to move in the right direction. Make the call, schedule the meeting, do something. The only way that you're going to grow is by taking action. So go out and take action. Signing off, this is Dan Bro, along with my co-host Matt Bruner with Real Estate Heroes.